Hello and welcome to Oilers TV Playoffs presented by Sport Check. Tom Gazzola alongside Gene Principe from Sportsnet. Gene, first of all, nice to have you on, Paisan.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Now, I'm here to talk about the Godfather trilogy, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
We're going to sneak in some playoff talk?
We can sneak it in. It's always good to have you on Oilers TV, Gino. We head into Game 4. The Oilers looking to rally back from what happened in Game 3, obviously. If you talk to people around the media and you talk to players and coaches, they say that they didn't have a good game in Game 2, but Cam Talbot stole it. And then in Game 3, they had an even worse game. How did you see those two games play out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. Sometimes, I remember Craig McTavish, when he used to coach Edmonton Oilers, would always say, listen, you don't want to over-critique a win. And in the playoffs, I mean, every team's got a goalie. So I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that Cam Talbot stole a game. That's what goalies sometimes do. I mean, John Gibson gave Anaheim a chance in Game 3 where the Oilers were pushing and even could have potentially taken the lead, and he came up big. You might not call it stealing it a win because of the fact the Oilers scored 3 times. I would worry more about the last game. I wouldn't concern myself too much with Game 2. Yes, the last game was Anaheim. I mean, Todd McLellan puts it best. You get down to the final 8, the final 4, final 2. These are not teams that have fluked their way to this point. Anaheim is a veteran team with a coach who's won a Stanley Cup, with 2 players who've won a Stanley Cup with Anaheim in regards to Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf. So that's what you get in a series. I mean, anyone who thought it would be a sweep, I can understand you having that thought for a moment at 2-Love, but it really was unrealistic to think that Edmonton could win 4 in a row against a club that won the division title.
Right. Good point about Gibson. He was timely more so than he stole that game. You're right. But speaking of Cam Talbot, when he's let in 5 or more goals in a game this season, he's come back that next game and gone 5-0-0 with, I think it's a 1.8 GAA, 919 save percentage. And what do you expect from him tonight?
Those numbers.
The same, yeah.
Those
okay.
numbers. I mean, I think at this point, when you are a goaltender that is new to the position, people always are waiting for you to fail or prove yourself. And what Cam continually does is prove himself. Maybe in the first portion of last season, there may have been a little less success than he had wanted. But, I mean, what can you ask from the kid? I mean, he does nothing but continue to respond when his team needs him. In Game 2, that's what he did. We discussed the fact that he stole that game for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm not suggesting he's going to steal Game 4, but I would suggest for certain that the Anaheim Ducks would be hard-pressed to get 6 goals like they did in Game 3. And Cam Talbot, the numbers, well, they tell the story. Sometimes they say numbers are for losers. I think sometimes they're for winners, and that's what Cam Talbot has been for the Oilers.
His teammates think the same. Let's go to the Oilers room and hear what they have to say.
Well, when you look at our team, we are a relatively young team, but Cam's a mature goaltender. His entry into the league wasn't out of the Western Hockey League or anything like that. He went to college. He put some years in. He put some years in as a backup. So he's mature. He's got a real good level of emotional control. He doesn't get too high or too low. And I think one of the big things for him is he accepts responsibility for his performances. And he'll do that. He'll come back and play real well tonight.
Yeah, he's bounced back all season long, and so has the team. Anytime we've had a tough game, we've always been able to find a way to bounce back. And I think that's that young competitive edge in us. We just want to go out there and prove that that's not who we are. And I think we're gonna have a much better push today.
All right, Gino, another big topic heading into Game 4 is the gamesmanship between the coaches. And I can say that Randy Carlyle started it. Todd McLellan sort of playing along with this.
Well, you know what? Randy Carlyle can't help himself. I mean, it started really before the series began, right? Saying that the Oilers should be whining in regards to face-offs because Edmonton was 30th in the league in regular season and Anaheim was first. So, okay, we get through that, and Todd says, already? Series hasn't even begun. Then he follows up on Game 2, and I couldn't believe it when he talked about the officials and how great they are. And if our players made as few mistakes as the officials, we'd have a very good player and a very good team. And I thought, okay, now he's done. And then they go to Kelowna, where you're supposed to relax, take it easy, and he's not taking it easy. He's back on the white gloves. That Connor McDavid gets special treatment. That's what he sees on his videotape. The Oilers see a different thing on their videotape, and I think Todd's been around a long time, and Randy's been around longer. But I think Todd's pretty much had enough of this at this point in the series.
Let's hear from both coaches from this morning.
Well, I heard that and I was surprised because I thought we were supposed to be the team whining. So that threw me off a little bit, and then you know, as far as Connor goes, I think there's 2 or 3, maybe 4 players in the league. Connor, guy that's not playing in Pittsburgh tonight, and some others that have to play through that hooking and the holding and the mauling and all that type of stuff that goes on.
Like, we all have tape in this modern era, so we review things that are happening, infractions that are happening on the ice. And we explain to our players that this is what's going on out there, and we think that there are some situations that people have received preferential treatment. Simple as that.
All right, so there's the continuation of the war of words between the two coaches. Gene, real quick, what are you expecting tonight from this game from the Oilers' perspective?
Well, I think that, first of all, I'd be surprised if Anaheim scores the first goal. I think the Oilers would be the one to score that, and I would be very surprised if the Ducks are able to take any kind of a big lead like they had in the previous game. The Oilers are motivated. Connor McDavid said this morning they want to get the crowd into it and keep them into it, and you know this crowd is really looking forward to a 3-1 series lead, and I think that will be the case at Rogers Place by the time you and I wrap up our evenings.
All right, Gino, you'll be back for part 2. That wraps up part 1 of Oilers TV Playoffs, presented by Sport Check.